So today we're going to be looking at my top 10 games, campaign games of all time. At number 10 is Fable 2. Fable 2 for me is a fun experience, my very first 360 game of all time. Uh, the story is good, the way you progress as a child into an adult, the paths are good and evil, so that system is pretty good. You can use magic. You can play. Your character can be as you want. You can use magic, which includes shock, fire, um, wind blast, and you know, casting zombies like raising the dead. Or you can just be a normal hack and slash. You can be an archery guy. It's just a fun experience. Fable 2. I would recommend it strongly to anyone that hasn't played it. It might be a bit outdated, but the story, it's still good if you like those type of games. At number 9, we have Grand Theft Auto 5. Grand Theft Auto 5 was a pretty good game for me. It was my very first game that I pre-ordered a year in advance. Um, the game itself, the story was good. It went for a long time, so there's a plus if you like, your long story type games. Uh, The one thing I could say I didn't like about it is you you don't get to create your own character like Saints Row and use it in the campaign. But the way the story incorporates three characters is quite ingenious. So you start off as one character and then they meet with the second character, and it's like, what a coincidence. But I kind of like how it's like that. And then probably about halfway later, the third character gets introduced, and I won't spoil why, but um, it comes down to what happens in the intro. Probably the first hour or hour and a half of the game, it sort of explains why he's not introduced. But yeah, it's a pretty good game. I would strongly recommend it to anyone that hasn't played it. I recently purchased it on the Xbox One, so yeah, it's a good game. At number 8, we have The Wolf Among Us. The Wolf Among Us is, for me, my favourite Telltale game of all time. Nothing will beat it. Game of Thrones, I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. That Telltale game was fantastic. The Walking Dead, I'm a huge Walking Dead fan. That Walking Dead game was fantastic, but not better than The Wolf Among Us. Mainly why I like it so good is the neon aspect and the 80s aspect, the 80s vibe, and the sort of gave me the Dark Knight Returns vibe, graphic novel, the part one, part two movie. It's such a good story. The visuals, it's basically like you're playing a graphic novel. That's what I enjoy about it. And the choices you take really impact. You really feel the impact emotionally and mentally. Like you want to, because you play as a sheriff called Bigby Wolf, and some of the choices you make, like you want to make sure you're doing the right thing. A prime example is I'll choose something and I go, oh shit, like, because it tells you what the person you're talking to thinks. Like if I say, so one of the characters say I'm talking to Toad, who's a frog, and he goes, oh, can you fix this? And I say, F off, I don't have the time to do this. It tells you, like above, he resents you. Those type of choices, even the little type of choices, they really impact your decisions later in the game, and that's what I really enjoy about this game. I'd strongly recommend it to others as well. Number 7, we have Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption is my favourite Rockstar game of all time. It is by far the most, I'd say, um, fun and probably emotional journey you'll ever take on a Rockstar game. Simply because you really get attached to the main character, John Marsden. Some of the missions you undertake are fantastic. Um, the hunting, the baiting, the lassoing so fun when you ride the horses. You just traverse the land for probably 2 hours or 3 hours just walking around the land, discovering new things. Because I remember I used to discover new things all the time that I hadn't even thought I'd found. But yeah, I would recommend that game to anyone that hasn't played it. Number 6, we have a Far Cry 3. Far Cry 3 is another fantastic game. Probably my favourite Ubisoft game of all time. Ubisoft have been really rubbish lately, I think. They've sort of dropped the ball since, in my opinion, Far Cry 3 or Assassin's Creed. Probably the last good Assassin's Creed game was probably Brotherhood. But Far Cry 3 is a journeyful experience. You play as a guy called Jason Brody, who it's a first-person open-world game. You get to hunt prey, or you get to hunt tigers, or they can hunt you. You get to hunt. All the animals in the world are just well detailed. Their behaviour is what they would probably do in real life. I would say one thing: don't go into the waters without knowing what's in there, because you will get a surprise in some waters. The main antagonist, Vaas, probably my favourite villain of a video game of all time. It is basically like seeing the Joker not be in a Batman game and be in this game. His level of insanity is mind-blowing. The way he creates these plans, and a prime example is he's telling a guy a story and he goes, "Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?" Basically, he's explaining what the meaning of insanity is, and then at the end of that, he says, "Did I ever tell you what the meaning of insanity is?" And why he's doing this, he's got this guy tied up, his foot on a couple of cinder blocks, and when he says, "Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?" He kicks him down this waterfall, and obviously he's going to sink because he's got cinder blocks on him. No way you can get out of that. But yeah, the way that they came up with this character, Ubisoft, I do have to give them a great review for that, a great thumbs up, simply because he drives the game, in my opinion. Vaas drives the game. All the supporting cast drive the game, like Hoyt, Buck, Sam, the German, all these people, they drive the game. No disrespect to the main protagonist, but the antagonists drive this game, and I would recommend it to anyone that hasn't played it. The story is well detailed. It might get a bit carried away towards the end, but I enjoyed it. At number 5, we have Halo 2. Halo 2 for me is my first original Xbox game of all time, so you could understand why I would be quite happy playing Halo 2 when I bought the Master Chief Collection 2 years ago. So I remember playing Halo 2 for the first time, and I was petrified simply because I hated the fact that when you played as the Master Chief, we got to remember, this is probably when I played it about when I was 7 or 8, and when you had to do that really sort of scared me, because you got into these dark areas and you had to fight the Flood, you had to fight aliens, they come up behind you, and I was scared about that. So I remember I always used to try to keep all the human AI all alive, but that didn't go well sometimes. But as I played it again 2 years ago, and when it came out on the Xbox One 2014, oh my, the 10-year development is fantastic. The visuals, the graphical components, the sound, everything is so different from 10 years. A prime example is you can change the graphics in the game from today's graphics till 2004, and you can and when you do that, the music changes, and hearing the music, some of the music sounds much better, but some of the music sound better in 2004. But I really enjoyed this game simply because you got to play as an alien, and that was amazing. At number 4, we have Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight, for me, is a really fun game. You get to play as, obviously, Batman, Bruce Wayne, but this time, instead of being in Arkham City, You get to be in Gotham City, and exploring Gotham is really fun. A lot of people criticize using the tank, which is Batmobile. I quite enjoyed it. The one thing I didn't like though with the tank is there's too many tank missions, but the campaign is long enough to keep you involved. The stealth mechanics are by far the best stealth mechanics ever in the Batman franchise. Some of the boss battles are pretty good. I will say the Riddler, really drives me insane because he just keeps interrupting you when you're doing missions and telling you have to find Riddler trophies. So that's probably my only negatives about the game, but the positives are so good. The gameplay, the acting, the visuals. A prime example is the rain looks so good, just dripping on the ground with the drops on the ground. And they actually, during the game, your bat cape, your bat suit takes damage. I've never seen that in a Batman game. In Arkham City, your bat suit takes damage simply because during the game, your bat suit evolves. Or not evolves, but it takes damage because of the story. But when you keep taking damage, say you get stabbed or shit, you actually see those marks on the thing. They might go away, but when you finish the fight, you always see the detail. So I have to give Rocksteady their credit where it's due in probably I think it's their final Batman game. So it is quite sad to see that, but I think it is the best the best the second best Arkham game of all time. I'll talk about why later. At number 3 we have Arkham City. Arkham City, everything's as I touched on in Arkham Knight is in Arkham City, except why I enjoyed Arkham City more is the boss battles. The boss battles are so enjoyable. You remember them. A prime example is the Victor Freeze, Mr. Freeze fight is by far the greatest boss battle in the Arkham franchise. The way you have to defeat Freeze is so intellectual challenging. You have to think before you act. You can't just go bang bang, let's just try taking him out, or let's disable his freeze suit. You can't do that. You have to plan. And the thing I like about Freeze when you fight him is when you take him out. So, prime example, you use a silent takedown on him. You come up from behind. He gets back up. You can't do that attack again. If you do that attack again, he knows you're coming because he put something on the back of his suit to track like movements or something. So you have to adapt your game style, and that's why I think a lot of the stuff in this game, Arkham City, you have to adapt your skill to fit the game, and that's why I enjoy it so good. The visuals are good. The story is amazing. The twists, the turns, you don't know what's going on sometimes, and you're just enthralled by the proposition of what you're witnessing. But it's so good. At number 2, we have Fallout 4. Fallout 4, I recently got last November, and I finished completing it in probably about February or late January. Fallout 4 is by far the best Fallout game I've ever played. Fallout 3 was good, but Fallout 4, oh my god, the amount of character customization, the way that the AI reacts around you, they're smart. Something obviously with a big game like that, you're gonna get glitches like in any Bethesda game like Skyrim, but Fallout 4, the story is good. The choices you make leave an impact. That's what I like. The choices actually help you, or they don't help you. So when you look at things like that, that's why I really enjoy the game. The traversing of the land is great. I've completed the game once. I'm going through on a second playthrough that I know I touch on probably once a couple of weeks, but I haven't even in my first playthrough. I haven't even finished exploring every area of the map. But the enemies are so good. They're scary. The ghouls are scary. The rad scorpions are scary if you don't know where they're coming from. But yeah, it's fantastic. And I do have to say why I really love this game is your followers now actually have a meaning. Your followers, you, what you do in the story or what you do around the world of Boston, your followers will either like you, hate you, or even leave. You can build your own settlements, which is fantastic, although it is a pain to get all the resources. But there's a Wasteland Workshop DLC, and I'll end up getting that. But in that, you can tame any animal you want. You have to have a taming perk, of course. And you can have them fight your settlers, your followers, anything. And things like that really make the little things like building your settlements, actually feeling involved with the game, actually means something for me because you actually have a vital part of that game. But yeah, I would recommend, or the character perk of that game, you got your skills tree and you can buy any perk. You obviously have to, you get, I think, 6 or 7 skills you get to choose from, and you have to allocate points at the start. So you get about, I don't know, 30, I think it's 30 points or something, and you can do that. You level up, you get to choose what perk you want. All the perks are really different. They're really fun to use. They help out in a lot of ways. So don't just think, oh, when I use this perk, it's not going to help. All the perks do help in some way. For the very first time, when you name your character, depending on what you name it, there's probably about, I think it's 500 names, might be a bit less than that, 300 to 500 names that are actually recognized by the game. So, prime example, say you use the name John. Say your name's John, or Jack or John, and you use then you got a robot who he'll tell you, oh, hey Jack, how are you feeling? Or the people actually say your name, which I really enjoy. So it actually emphasizes on the importance of character, the way you structure your character as well. Before we get to the number one, we're going to go through some honorable mentions. Some honorable mentions include Dishonored. Dishonored was really fun. I really enjoyed it. The story was good, but I don't think it would make my top 10. Probably might be my favourite games of all time, but not story-wise. Beyond Two Souls. Beyond Two Souls is an interesting game. It's very story-driven. You play as, I forgot her name, Alan Page is in it, and William Dafoe, who plays Green Goblin, in the Spider-Man franchise. He's fantastic in it. Both actors are fantastic in the game. Some of the choices are good. I would recommend it to anyone that hasn't played it. It's sort of like Heavy Rain. Another one is Far Cry 4. The only reason I didn't put Far Cry 4 in my list for the top 10 campaign games I enjoy is it's too much like Far Cry 3. It basically is a clone of Far Cry 3. It's fun, but when you think about it, it's not. The campaign isn't that good. Shadow of Mordor, I think Shadow of Mordor was quite stiff to miss. Shadow of Mordor it's not stiff to miss out. It's probably fair for me considering the story wasn't that good. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, but the story, it wasn't that good. The best part of the game was just traversing through the lands, building an army up of orcs. That was what I enjoyed most about this game. Skyrim. Skyrim would be in the top 10, but I don't have Skyrim anymore. I sold it when I got my Xbox One because I sold my 360. I never got to complete Skyrim. I think Skyrim might be pretty stiff to miss out, but I'm going through the top 10 games, campaign games I've played, and I can't put Skyrim in there considering I haven't completed the story. But halfway through the story, I would say it is amazing, and I would recommend it to anyone that hasn't played it. The number one campaign game for me of all time is BioShock Infinite. BioShock Infinite, I was surprised how good this game was. I thought BioShock Infinite I thought it would have been good, but not as good as it was. The story is such a great story. The amount of twists and turns and the way it incorporates certain aspects of time and science fiction. It's such a good game. The visuals are amazing. Probably, in my opinion, the best visuals on a 360 game of all time. The way it runs smooth. You get a bit of choppiness sometimes, but the way it runs is amazing. Some of the loading times are a bit long, but most of the time the loading times are great. The enemies are good. They're different, they're challenging. Towards the end of the game, they introduce different types of enemies, and they're hard to do. They're hard to fight. They are hard to fight. The way you get across land, so you got a level, and it's sort of, it's a planned way you got to get there, but you can take multiple routes to get there, and that's what I enjoy about this. You can explore, and you can take, you can just go in, right, and you can do the objective, or you can look around the area, know what's happening, know why, read a bit of backstory, find extra weapons, extra Volgas, which are, powers you get. And you can use, you can throw crows, have a crow attack, or you can have the fire attack, or you can have an attack where it sparks lightning. It's such a good game. And why I think this game is fantastic is BioShock 1. I haven't completed yet, but a lot of people love it, and I'm not going to disregard that as a fantastic game, because so far the campaign is good. But the reason why I think this is better than BioShock 1 is it starts off as... But the reason why I didn't like BioShock 1 is it's too, survival horror. I don't mind those type of games, but you can hardly see sometimes, and it really annoys me. But this game, it's perfect, in my opinion. The way that it transitions, so at the start it'll be the first half of the game's all happy and, bright and sunny, and in the Cloud City, that's where you go. Everything seems happy. But as you progress through the game, darker things happen. You see murders on the streets. You see gangs rival up and attack the city police or the city guards, and the mansion. You go into a haunted mansion later on, and that's freaky. And you go into an insane asylum, and some of the stuff in there, but the game is fantastic. The ending, if I wanted to, I could probably talk about the BioShock Infinite. I could probably talk for a 20-minute video just how good BioShock Infinite is and explain why. But the ending is amazing. I'm not going to spoil what happens. By far my favourite ending of all time in a video game. I was mind blown. I instantly wanted to play it again. this is a game where you could talk about it for days on and days in. The way it structures its game is fantastic. The main character, Booker DeWitt, fantastic protagonist. Troy Baker again delivers a fantastic performance. And the second character, what's her name? Emily, I think. I haven't played this game for so long, but she's the lady, the girl you have to find. But her performance is fantastic. I will describe it as their relationship is sort of like, when you're playing it, it sort of feels like you're watching a Disney, one of those Disney films, the early ones, just with all the happiness. But then when you start to play, you actually feel attached to the environment. Some of the stuff that happens, you think, oh, I could have stopped that, or how can I help these people? But the game is a 10 out of 10 for me. I would recommend it to anyone that hasn't played it. That's it for my top 10 campaign games of all time. If you liked this video, please make sure you subscribe, comment, and give it a like, of course. If not, let me know what you thought in the comments. I would like to hear what people thought, what people's top 10 comments were, or top 10 campaign games of all time. So I'm out. Thanks for listening, and take care.